Say pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for doing that.
Let's roll call show that Councilman Demick is not present at this time. Anticipating being here though. Everybody else is here. We do have a quorum. Approval of the agenda. Have a motion to approve the agenda.
I move we approve the agenda.
I'll second it.
Been moved by Councilman Zent, second by Councilwoman Hartke to approve the agenda as presented. Any further discussion? None being, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed the same. Motion passed. Communications from citizens. Do we have any communications from citizens? Anything online, Chris?
Those are business items. Okay, I didn't really want to talk now with there.
I'm assuming that's,
Okay.
I'm assuming.
Yeah, you're on the agenda. Council was just asking if you
I
wanted to
didn't know
talk.
if you wanted to speak now or when your license comes up after the exec. Okay.
Executive session, kind of a motion to move an executive session for personnel and real estate.
I'll make the motion to go into executive session.
Moved by Councilman Weaver, go into executive session for personnel and real estate. Can I have a second?
I'll second it.
Then second by Councilman Hartke. Any further discussion? None being, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion passed, all affirmative. Go into executive session, 7:06. Motion to open the meeting, general session.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved by Councilman Vince, second by Councilman Weaver, that we open. What, about 8:18? At 8:18, regular session. Chris, would you? We're in the process of hiring 2 department heads and also be changing your position, because you've been working as 2 department heads for the last over 2 years. Could you explain a little bit to the council and everybody here watching what we're looking at on our budget on this?
So by the combined position of chief of police and town clerk treasurer, the original budget was set into place from what was pre-existing, which for the chief of police was set at 55,000, and the town clerk treasurer was then incorporated into that position at a lower rate than had been singularly paid for a clerk treasurer. The difference between the two was about 18,000 a year less for the combined position than they would have been separately. That was at that original pay scale 3+ years ago when that first took place.
Did that include all the benefits and everything else?
No, that was
charges.
that was just gross,
base
Just
salary.
just base
Base
salary. Yeah,
salary.
sorry, I was talking just on salary. And then so those two were combined at that lower rate.
Hey, Chris, what did that save the town for the medical coverage insurance just going to one person instead of 2?
It was about 27,000 a year
So basically.
with all benefits
so
from
that's a
having
big-
two
a
different
big
individuals into one. Is about 27,000
Okay.
over the course of a year, per year.
So that's something we got to keep in consideration.
So at the mayor's request that I did map out what impacts would be on with me out as the clerk and just the chief of police, what impact that'll have on the town administration portion, not irrespective of the police department right now, just talking about the clerk and the salary there. So if everything in the town hall remained status quo, everything remained the same at the 40% median average of pay, the difference over the course of the remaining portion of the year having the clerk would be about $7,000 to the budget. At 60% of median, which is a little bit higher than half of the pay range, which is 47,840 to 56,160. That would be about 10,152 to the budget. Now that's spread out amongst a couple of different departments, not just general administration. So there's some portion of that comes out of the water, wastewater at a less amount, about 10%. So it's a small amount, but it still does have an impact. However, the direct hit to the town general administration department at the low end would be 3,400, and at the high end would be 4,700. And then the enterprise would be 1,600 to 2,700 combined would be the remaining portion this year. I will say that based off of our budgets the last 4 years now that I've been involved with, we have yet to spend 100% of our expenditures as budgeted on any one department, generally speaking. I also have, we do have a contracted services line item in the general administration that would take care of the majority of that budget increase. The water and wastewater as well have that built in. So I don't feel at this time it would require actually increasing the appropriated monies for expenditures for that, as discretionary spending can be used for personnel that goes unspent. So I don't feel that that is going to be an impact. And remember, this is keeping everything as it is, as far as all the employees that we currently have through the end of this year, June 30th. And the impact that they would have would be not anything that I feel would require actually increasing the budget. However, we do have $13,000 that we didn't budget in general monies that could be utilized to, if we had to pay for any overages due to separation of other employees that cost us unbudgeted salaries. But we have recouped some of that money through part-time positions that went to part-time, as well as unfilled positions for a brief period of time, and the temporary employees that are currently manning the water, wastewater, that has decreased the impact that those payouts had. So with all that taken into consideration, I don't believe that there is a need to actually increase the budget at this time. That would be something that I think would need to be looked at maybe in spring if we're approaching it, but the approved expenditures that were appropriated will not be exceeded by this move at this point in time for the remainder of this year. It will have an impact next budget year. Essentially, one position that exists currently exists solely because of the decreased monies that the town was paying for personnel when the positions were combined. And that is approximately the difference between what this would raise over the full term of the year versus currently. So that position would have to be reevaluated at the next budget session. But I do believe that there's no need to get rid of the position at this time or increase the budget to facilitate this at this time for the clerk side.
So basically, in short, doesn't look like we'd have to increase our budget this fiscal year.
No.
We'll have to we'll sort of
If,
have to look at it.
well,
next
I
year.
say it, the way things are tracking now, I don't know the future. Something could blow up in town hall that requires the use of that discretionary money that would then combine with the payroll increase that might cause us to have to reevaluate that. But I don't foresee that happening. It would take quite a bit, but it could potentially, but that would be something that would come down the road. At this time, I don't foresee that being an issue. We have a pretty good safety net in our budget to absorb this cost from our discretionary aspects of things. And as well, we also have a available monies from revenue versus expenditures that is not budgeted, that could be utilized at any time to raise if we had to.
And that was, and both those numbers was looking at between the 40 and 60% range. That's sort of the medium of what we have for our range for our town clerk.
Correct.
Correct.
Yes. What these numbers I can explain if you want to. This is the impact. This is I was saving. And this is the difference between the increased cost. At that range. And that this is that. So that's the difference. And as far as the police department goes, that we have currently have a budgeted position that has not been fully filled yet, and what has not been expended would be utilized for the chief, just solely as the chief of police, which I'm currently, my salary is below the minimum as the chief of police as it is. Because that was not something that was increased either. So these two job descriptions didn't apply to me in my position as I was holding it. There was a unified job description that combined both of them. So these, I was underpaid on both of these individually, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
This is, so these two numbers, this is the range
Yeah, well, that's 40 to 60% of the rate. The lowest is 47,840. You look on there, I think 40% of that range would be the first one.
So
lower
the
one,
49.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
49, you have a 54, so that's your,
40 to 60.
so is that the,
That's not the pay scale, no. But here's the pay scale.
so that's when,
So when I say
This is
40
what-
to 60, I mean 40% of the pay, it's the range of gap starting from 47 to 56, 40 to 60 is those two numbers, yeah.
50% would be exactly in the middle of the pay scale.
You got right over 50, you get 51,000.
When I first went to work for an engineering company from the oil field, everybody knew what you made. But anyway, I got a brother-in-law that was an engineer, and he schooled me up on how they work it. You got a pay scale range. It's your job title, and you don't want to be if you're already at the high end, means you're not getting a raise. I mean, you're there. If you're on the low end, well, so you got more apt to get her. So, his advice, see where you at on their pay scale to see where you should be. But anyway, that was news to me. But anyway, that's where you get a range. The work you made, Derek Can made, $12 an hour, and Driller made $16 an hour, or, whatever it was, that was it. You didn't have a range. It was,
no room to grow.
yeah, it was there. But with them, they got a pay range, and that's what a lot of companies in the real world do.
Well,
It's
that's
not an oil field.
kind of the best practices, you look at the 40 to 60 as the median, and you want to try and usually, but there's obviously
Right.
situations where you would go below that or
Right.
dependent, but standard is that's. So I try to give you those examples of what that was.
So our police department were it sounds like doesn't sound like we have we're looking at any shortages there where we might have to raise.
Not this year, no.
Okay,
And again, like I
so
said,
we're worried about this year's
it's,
budget.
yeah, I'm looking just at the remaining portion of this budget going forward. It's a unique position to talk about because the two were combined into one, so it's kind of hard to picture, but essentially between the two, the savings was about 27,000 a year, split out, which allowed for another position to be facilitated with the town. But this year, keeping that position through this year, just from where we are financially, would not require us to increase the budget or riff any employees or remove anybody, or decrease anybody at this time, if that's the route we. But in June 30th, after this fiscal year ends, it would become an issue on budgeting for next year because of that dynamic of the lower pay with the extra position. That would be something that would have to be looked at that time.
And we'll start looking at that next spring.
But I'm certainly not advocating that increase in budget or removal. of any
Okay.
personnel.
We've got one more department head to fill, Director of Public Works. How are we sitting there also?
So every month that goes by, it's the large payouts is what affected us. We had to absorb those payouts unexpectedly. Every month that goes by that's not filled, that decreases by about 20% of what was going to go over budget. So if we were going to say, just use simple numbers, if we were going to be 10,000 over budget, every month decreases that by 2,000, 20%. We're not 10,000 over budget, we're 3,400 as a result of those payouts. And every month that's gone by, it's decreased now. So we're looking at about 1,800 over budget by the end of the year, depending on where that new public works director falls on the pay scale versus the previous one. That could be a zero sum at the end of the year, or it'd be slightly above. But again, I do feel that if you remember every one of our budgets, we were about anywhere from $7,000 to $13,000 below budget versus revenues. So there's plenty of room if it has to be done, but I don't foresee that becoming an issue where we exceed our appropriations as originally passed by ordinance. So,
Most likely, we will not have to raise our budget in this fiscal year.
no,
Any other questions from council?
barring something exploding.
We can't. So I will. So I will contact the applicants for the town clerk. And talk to both of them and go into negotiations. Armed with this information will help. I would like to address the proposal from Hopper Metals. And I'd like a representative from Hopper Metals to contact our town attorney, Marshall Keller, and have discussions with him on how to move forward. Anybody else want to add anything, or I got that covered?
No, I think it's a good idea because it'll help get, basically a guideline on what the town wants. And where you need to go to get to where you want to go.
Sure.
That way there's no wondering.
And finally, we will be in contact with Dwayne Raymond on his proposal. Think that covers that?
Mhm.
Consent agenda. Let's move on. Can I have approval of the consent agenda? Minutes, August 23rd, 2022. Approval of the bill, August 24th through September 13th, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Zent, second by Councilman Weaver, that we approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? None being. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pose the same. Passed all in the affirmative. Zoning. I know I got notification that Jake Stetler was not going to be able to make it. Did he contact you also, Chris?
Yes, for the public hearing, but he did provide the documents for. So the public hearing was announced for today at 7 PM at Town Hall and was advertised. Jake Stetler also did provide a letter that was sent to the adjacent landowner, Dennis, Tim Thompson, and Don Thompson, with their signatures that they received it and any objections to be here today at this meeting, which they did not have any objections to the proposed zoning to SR agriculture.
I move we approve Jake Settler's request to zone his property SR agriculture.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Zent, second by Councilman Weaver, that we approve Jake Stetler's property zoning to SR. agriculture. Any further discussion? None being, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed the same. Motion passed, all affirmative. Ordinances, Chris.
Ordinance 2022-5-25-001. An ordinance amending code number 525 of the Shoshoni Town Codes as previously read and entered into record. Second reading.
Do you want all these approved at once or separately?
Can we do them all at once?
After you go through them all, yeah.
Okay, I'll read them each.
Okay, please.
Ordinance 2022-11-4-001. An ordinance amending code number 11-4 of the Shoshoni Town Codes as previously read and entered into the record. Ordinance 2022-11-1.1-001. An ordinance amending code number 11-1.1 of the Shoshoni Town Codes as previously read and entered into the record. Ordinance 2022-13-3.1-001. An ordinance creating code number 13-3.1 of the Shoshoni Town Codes as previously read and entered into the record. Second reading.
Can I have a motion to approve ordinance 2022-5-25-001? Fines and penalties, second reading. Ordinance 2022-11-4-001. Weeds, second reading. Ordinance 2022-11-1-1-001. Fines and penalties, second reading. Ordinance 2022-13-3.1-001. Operations of motorized travel on sidewalks, second reading. Any further discussion? None being, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose the same. Motion passed, all in the affirmative. Permits, business license. Our market, Armando Montoya. Please identify your both of yourselves and
Good evening, everybody. I'm Armando Montoya.
And I'm Annie Clark.
And I'm Stacy Margaret.
We come before you today. We want to open a marketplace slash deli diner.
Yeah, it's kind of gonna wear a lot of hats too. And that's why we wanted to name it Our Market. So we want to involve the community as much as possible. Start with the market, like things that you need that you would usually have to drive to Riverton to get. So say you're cooking something and you need flour, want to have things like that there, but then also house a lot of as many local people that we can that want to bring in their stuff. So as far as Shoshoni and then the 5 surrounding communities as well, and give a place for some local people to put their stuff up for sale.
So people in Shoshone don't have to drive 30 miles to Riverton to pick up milk or toilet paper or the necessities that you need on everyday life.
We do want to do food, takeout. I don't know long-term if I want to do a dine-in forever. I'm going to start that because I just need the income. We're going to, and I guess backing up a little bit, in the beginning, it's just going to be the drive-through until I finish with the construction inside, hopefully for as little time as possible. And I can get that done. I broke my arm, so I'm a little behind schedule as far as that goes, but that ended up being good because I just had a lot more ideas in that time. As So another thing I want to do, which is kind of my takeaway of it and my part I'm most excited about, is house a space like our kitchen for people to come in and start a business of their own. So I've got Stacy here that would like to start like a burger place, for example. And so she can come in, practice her stuff, get her menu made, serve her food. I can walk her through the basics, like the paperwork of starting a business, which I'm familiar with doing. Help her get her EIN number. Maybe house her under my EIN for say 3 months, which, because you have to do that to get an SBA loan. You have to be in business for 3 months in order to get one of those, which makes it really difficult for a lot of people to start a business. Because they're going, you say, I want to start a business, but I don't have any money. Well, you can't get any money until you're in business for 3 months. So that I see that has halted a lot of people that could do, something good. So I would like to do that, and for as many people as I could. I mean, if Stacy wants to do a burger place, if there's a cake lady, or if there's a baker, that would like to do something of their own. And that's the part I'm most excited about. The market too. I mean, I know that it would be so handy to have a place to go, because I've been cooking and ran out of stuff, a lot of times, and there's just not a place to get it, because Fastlane's awesome. I love their ice cream so much, but they don't have like everything, that you might need. And then the locally sourcing of that too. And when on the other end of the starting businesses, that's going to help with the town growth. It's going to help start new businesses that might outgrow that place. And so that's the goal, is that they would outgrow it, or they would be on their own and need to open their business at another location or build, a new building in Shoshoni. I know you guys are focusing on growth of the community right now from within. So I think that would be a really good opportunity to house something that could help that as well. And it would also in turn open us up to funding, grant writing, things like that, to where we could, it would be, the sky's the limit. They're promoting a big national healthy food in rural communities initiative right now, that they're giving matched grants anywhere from $20,000 to $400,000. I mean, we could have it looking like the park across the road and do raised bed gardens. I mean, we could do a lot of things. Would open up. My background is in nonprofit, so this would be my first for-profit kind of business really that I've ever done, besides a fencing business. But I still want to help people somehow. So I didn't plan on going in the dining business. Ryan surprised me with that. He drove me down there a few months ago and just said, here's a diner, so I knew I wanted to do more. I didn't know exactly what. And then I broke my arm and I was really grumpy. Poor Mondo. But I thought of a lot of, more stuff that we could do that would be beneficial to the community, and then beneficial to me doing more of what I want to do too. So that's my sales pitch. Okay.
What type of restaurant do you have?
So,
What's your focus?
You can.
I am, I used to be a CNA. My foot got exploded by an airbag, and then I broke my back in 5 places. So obviously I cannot do nursing anymore. So I also don't like being on disability. So I'm trying to find something that I can do that I basically know how to do, which food service, because my grandparents moved here in 1962 and opened a restaurant. And so I've had business experience and then food experience in my life. And I think that that's something that I could do, where I can work and actually make a living and get myself off of disability, and then thereby fixing my own depression and anxiety, because I am going back to work instead of just sitting around.
So what's on your menu?
So right now, I'm just thinking of simple things like she said, hamburgers, and then
they're really good too.
most of the stuff that I'm doing will be homemade, though. It won't be boxed food, or but the fries, chicken nugget, or chicken tenders, a daily lunch special. That would be different every day. A couple of people that I asked in the community said that they would like something that's early for breakfast where they have like breakfast or coffee options. One of them being Kayla Schubach because she's the director of nursing and she, drives from here into Riverton and she goes in early and she thought it would be cool to have a place where like you could have breakfast items served early in the morning. So that's just kind of my focus, but I haven't really like gotten everything like all from here on.
Stacy's thinking starting small because of the cost. So starting small, good ingredients, good food, offer one lunch special a day, kind of run it like a food truck if she needs to. When you sell out, you're done for the day, and just until she gets the funding or whatnot to offer more and do more. So less maybe options, but better quality stuff.
We're also gonna be selling burritos. Cause I'm a burrito expert.
Yeah, a newfound burrito expert here. We didn't even know we had.
Well, I like cooking. I like eating, but I make good burritos. I think Jeff
got one.
Might have had one. We see him sitting across the street all the time, so I tend to go over there and offer him something to eat. Sometimes he's not hungry, but yeah, that's on our menu too. Plus coffee in the morning.
And breakfast every day.
Coffee. I got about 7 different burrito types that I got recipes for.
Cheeseburger and fries. That's the best one.
That's what my menu consists of. And Stacy's kitchen is separate.
And that's just exactly what I want to see. Like I want to run the market and I want to help people start their own business. In the background, like I said, I have experience with that. I was part of a really big nonprofit campaign in Casper, with Casper Boxing Club. We did a $3 million in 3 years and built a building right there at the Boys and Girls Club. I don't know if you guys know where that is at. And then also I started the first PAL in Wyoming, actually, which is a police athletics league. So we had the police officers coming into the gym, working with underprivileged children when they're not in trouble. It's a really nationwide, awesome program that I was really proud to be a part of that. My ex-husband and I had a fencing and reclamation business. So that was my experience with the for-profit, which we did very well and still are doing well with that too. So I have experience with it. And I just want to get back wherever I'm at. That's what I want to do. I want to get rich enough to get things when I want them and buy my family presents on holidays. But watching, even Stacy, since she started coming over, she comes over and practices her menu and she is outstanding. She's got some burgers that are great, that mushroom and Swiss, and her system of coming up with prices is unbelievable. She writes down, she knows exactly what each plate costs to make, exactly what each menu item costs. How she breaks it down. She got a food scale. It's really cool to see. It's something I wouldn't even have a clue how to do.
Well, and I also inherited my grandparents' property down on the east end of town, and it's a wreck right now. But doing this or having this opportunity with Danny also gives me money to fix up down there, and then I'm renting out both houses down there. So that, I'm just trying to figure out ways to support myself. Like I said, going back to being on disability, it's depressing. I don't like it. I miss working. I'm only 49 years old. I'm way far too young to be retired, and I just want to find something I can do.
And I would make money on is the market, and then the people that were there would just pay me a small amount of rent is how I would do that. The people that were in there utilizing the kitchen. And then Stacy could work out a schedule and she could maybe be in charge of that stuff as far as who's going to be in the kitchen. Shared kitchens are a big thing now. I'd never even heard of them. But when you look at like post-COVID ways that restaurants and places are making money in the United States, a shared kitchen is a really big one. So it just offers a working space for people doing different things. And entrepreneurs within from the community is never a bad thing. It's never good to have some outsiders, which I am, but I'm only from 99 miles away. So I was
Stacy's
born and raised in Wyoming.
Stacy's grandmother cooked amazing hamburgers and her French fries were all homemade and really remember
she
the
takes
potato
it
fries where she'd
serious,
go like
too.
that and make the French fries and everything made homemade was her French fries were great.
And that's kind of what I want to do. I
Right.
mean, I don't know, like, I guess
She takes it
follow in my
serious.
grandparents' footsteps because they did amazing things when they were like living here and I went to invest in Shoshoni. I'm from here. I love this town. It's been heartbreaking to see it turn into a ghost town and so I'm down to like invest in our community.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Does
Appreciate it.
anybody have any questions? No? Okay.
When you gonna
If you
open?
do have any, yeah, as soon as we get this license, we're gonna open the drive-through. And I'm gonna finish the construction and then we'll open the whole thing. I don't have a date right now because of this sinking arm. I'm still kind of limited. Mondo's getting a job. He got a job actually in Thermopolis for right now because we need a little extra money. So it'll be me and this girl
And as
right
soon as
now.
like we can legally open and like sell food without having like any type of fines, I'm down to be over there every day.
And she is over there every day. I mean, there's been days with this arm that I don't feel like doing it, but she's at the door, so we're doing it. So thanks. Yeah. Like
Thank
that's
you.
been awesome.
Actually, I have one question.
Yes, sir.
Was there a application, business license application?
Yeah.
Yes, there is.
Is it for 2 businesses or 1?
Just the one.
Okay, so I'm just gonna put this out here. So for each business business, there has to be a separate license.
That's what I was gonna ask you. So even in their, when they're not their own entity, they can operate as an employee under me, correct?
You'd have to start out as an employee, yes.
Yes,
I just want to throw that out there
Yep.
for the town. So once she starts her own business, she's gonna, she separates and starts her own, she's gotta have a separate license from the
Yeah.
initial business. Okay, that's
Absolutely.
all I want.
No, that's perfect. I meant to bring that up and because that's something I was wondering too, is how that would work. Because like I said, I mean, just offering the opportunity for people that couldn't usually be able to start a business because they don't have a place to go. And I could offer a space and I could pay them at a wage. And then when they have the funds to apply for that SBA loan, then they can do that and then they can take out whatever they want to be. Would be my thinking on it. But I'm not an attorney, so I would have to make sure all that.
The only reason I'm asking is for the town, so they know
Okay.
that there's more than one business and there's got 2 licenses.
Absolutely.
You have all your state permits already.
Nope, but that's what I just wanted to do this first and then
Okay.
just go for it. I wanted to make sure all you guys were on board first. This remodel and that, everything.
Got a motion to approve the business license?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved by Councilman Demick, second by Councilman Zep, that we approve the business license for our market. Armando Montoya. Any further discussion? None being all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pose the same. Motion passed all in the affirmative. Congratulations and thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and feel free to stop by anytime. It's a little messy right now, but. So we had to move some stuff outside yesterday and I had to put a sign up. I couldn't resist. Says under construction, sorry for the mess. I didn't want people thinking we were gonna be those people, It's driving me nuts, but we're gonna get it done. soon.
You bet. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Alcohol consumption permit, Lucky 5.
So this will actually be a sales, they submitted a sales permit as well for the prime rib dinner. So it'd be both available to be able to be both for Lucky 5 as well.
Have a good
So
night.
at the senior center on the 24th of September. Prime rib dinner. Both.
Kind of a motion to approve the alcohol consumption permit.
I'll make the motion.
Been moved by Councilwoman Hartkey that we approve the consumption permit for Lucky Five. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Dimick. Any further discussion? None being, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion passed on affirmative. Unfinished business, vehicle replacement. Chris,
I figured it'd be easier if I just did by memo, so I guess I'll check and have you read the memo that I sent out? And I guess it'd probably be easier just to explain real quick. So when we were ordering the vehicles, we believe that the K9 Tahoe was gonna arrive sometime in March, April, May, June next year. And at the time for Public Works, the Duramax was supposed to be here. That was actually ordered 3 months before the Tahoe was supposed to be here in July, August. Well, it got flipped. So the Public Works vehicle will not even start production until sometime in December at the earliest. And the Tahoe was already completed and arrived. I was informed that when that brief period of opening for vehicles on fleet opened, that GM received 2.5 years worth of vehicle sales in 1 week for fleet vehicles. So they produced the 2023 in 2 different blocks, basically, and that's why it's here. So as previously discussed, we'd have to address that because we didn't know what was going to get here. So the framework that I feel is the best way to handle that is our vehicle replacement fund and balancing our current obligations to repay the savings that we drew down last budget year for the Public Works, skid steer and Mini X heavy equipment. At the end of this budget year, that would be paid back. It wasn't budgeted for expenditures this year, so at the end of this budget year, it'd be paid back in that account. So what I would recommend is that we use the vehicle replacement fund to pay back the 1% directly transferred from savings account into the 1%. So that is now paid back as stipulated in the budget message as well as the budget planning. What that does allow then, instead of transferring it directly from savings into the actual budget, that no longer becomes necessary as that has been facilitated and paid. And then we would just have to increase commensurately the vehicle replacement budget line item for that amount at the end of the year. That would then be whatever is not spent from that would go back into the vehicle replacement fund as the 1% has already been paid back. Essentially, instead of drawing it down, then you have 2 lines that you're paying back at the end of the year. We just transfer from the savings account into the savings the fund that's held in the savings and pay it back immediately. And that way the 1% has been satisfied as far as being paid, and it allows the budget without having to increase the revenues and go through that process of resolution is no longer needed to be done. So that's in a nutshell the recommendation. Oh, and then I would also like to put up for either bid or auction our Crown Vics that we have and get those sold, as well as I believe we have 1 Public Works vehicle that I would like to get sold by the end of October if we do either by auction or a bid. Which is
Not
not
your spares.
We don't. Those are not spares. Those are really good vehicles in the wintertime to spin cookies in and teach people how to drive for rear wheel drive vehicles with big engines.
Along with your airport, you could set up a big defensive driving course.
I can do that. That would be fun. I probably want to make sure we don't have them covered under insurance because I'm sure it wouldn't go well.
That the Dodge Ram, silver Dodge.
Yeah.
I'm sure the town would love the auction.
You know, I mean, the negative aspect though is, like I explained before, with COVID and the current what's going on and manufacturers, they've restricted their sales for fleet vehicles and government pricing, which I don't know if you've had any experience or had heard anything, but at any rate, it's been restricted. So it went to first responders. And now that is being, obviously, the demand is so high that it's going to get more restrictive, which also supply demand, which costs the vehicles. So our vehicles are locked in now, but in the future, for this exact same vehicle, it's probably going to be about $8,000 more in 8 months, and it's still going to be the same model year. But that's the world we live in. So, and also this would facilitate a year early, so we won't have another vehicle replacement until basically 2025 fiscal year would be the next one, which would be the Durango, and that would become a town's council travel vehicle, so you don't use your personal vehicles any longer to do that, but we won't take that until fiscal year 2025. So we would be done, and at the end of at that time, next clerk should initiate a revolving fund for the vehicle replacement, which would then not have to be taken out of the actual budget. It would be a payment essentially from the department back into that revolving fund, which would continue to grow and remain self-sustaining in years to come.
Like an enterprise fund.
Basically, yes. Kind of like the SRF we use for the water. We loan 100,000, we pay it off in 20 years, and then that, with a small amount of interest going back into it, so that fund continues to grow and function. And that way it becomes that revolving fund. That's still part of the budget as far as you have to make payments to it, but that money would exist outside, which we'd have about $121,000 when we go to order another vehicle in 2 years, whatever it is, 2025.
So you need a motion to buy, transfer?
Well, we've already approved it, but I don't have the funding to pay for it, so I need the motion to increase the line item 1049,984
By 74,000.
by 74,000, which is and then by doing that, also authorize me to transfer from the vehicle replacement fund $74,000 into the 1% to facilitate that promise requirement that we had in our budget.
I move we follow the clerk's recommendation for vehicle replacement.
Wow,
That was good.
that was awesome. Can I have a second?
Second.
Moved by
Sometimes
Councilman Zant,
Just-
second by Councilman Demick, that we follow the plan that the town clerk chief of police outlined for us to purchase the vehicles. Any further discussion? None being, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion passed all in the affirmative.
You see that coming.
And we already talked about land purchase economic development. Correct?
So we gotta table that for the next meeting, or are we?
Which are we? We're gonna touch bases. Okay, Mike's gonna touch bases with Marshall and we will be in contact with Dwayne Raymond, I believe, tomorrow. Or no later than Thursday, is that right? And we'll present our proposal to him.
And so I guess after Councilman Demick's or Hopper Metals has facilitated, then we'll put it back on the agenda for again, or.
Yeah, we'll,
Okay.
yeah, we'll discuss. Yeah, Hopper Metals needs to have a discussion with our town attorney. Yeah, to discuss that.
Okay.
Proposition. Police Department report.
So covered that. So Steve Chappell, he's been part-time with us, but he did express written that he would like to fulfill our vacant position that we have. And so since he is an internal transfer, beginning October 1st, he will be facilitating that position and working in that capacity full-time, at least through the winter, which gives us, we're still going to take applications for that position. It's not a full-time fix, but it gives us a full-time temporary solution to that position until we get some more applicants. We did have 2 applicants, and I believe one was, they were both progressing through backgrounds. We were looking at making an offer to the one, but he went to work for the oil field in North Dakota, making $10,000 a week. So this is the best solution to at least get that coverage back here, so we have that full coverage. And that will begin 1st of October. The touch on the calls. So we had 40 calls for service last month, and started obviously with school coming back in, we're starting to get some more of the kids and whatnot being out. But I'm happy to report that thefts and vandalism have not increased month over month with the start of school versus what it was. So far things are, with the curfew, that most kids have been sticking by that stipulation, and I think that's a good thing with not having kids out at 11, 12 o'clock anymore. Obviously, we still have a couple kids that do, they are contacted, and usually they're just returning back home from wherever they're coming from. So that's a good thing versus 4 months ago when it was more of an issue. So that has decreased. The animals, dogs still have been an issue. We've had 4 calls. These are actually calls that generate a ticket, not actually calls that we're actually dealing with. So it's not all inclusive of all the problems. So there's been more than 4 dog issues in the last month. But these are the ones that we did take actual action on. We did have a K-9 deployment and a positive controlled substance find. So far, I did also include what our calls of service were. So for this year, compared to 2021, we're actually down 11% in call volume. However, we're still up 24% from 2020 and 18% from 2019. So while we're trending in the right direction from last year, we're still above what it was pre-COVID. Part of that, obviously, with more enforcement comes more calls for service, but a lot of it just has to do with more things have been going on than had previously been going on. Domestics have been up, thefts, vandalism, DUIs, all those have increased. I don't have the stats on this report, but I will have it next time, so you can kind of see that variance in what has been increasing here in Shoshoni versus the last couple of years. Instead of just the overall calls, I'll break it down for the council on the next one, just so you have a kind of an idea of what's trending up and what's trending down. That's pretty much all I have. Questions or concerns in the community?
Could you briefly touch about it? Ambulance,
Oh,
you just briefly touch on that.
so our ambulance is complete. I'm waiting on final acceptance of the $20 application fee to the state of Wyoming for us to be able to operate. From there, we'll have 2 EMTs, so we will have some coverage, not obviously 7 days a week, 24 on the onset, but we will be able to facilitate high school activities, football games. They did have an incident here 2 weeks ago where a kid dislocated his shoulder and there was no EMTs on because Fremont County didn't send one. So we're going to start doing that. I try to get it done as quickly as possible, but unfortunately with the state, sometimes it's not as quick. I do also, we reached out to Knowles. They do put on a 2-week class to become a basic EMT in 2 weeks. I know we had a thing where it takes 6 months, 4 months, a month, whatever, 2 weeks, 40 hours a week. And so I will rotate members of the police department through that course to get certified so they can run as a basic within a month. And that will help expand that coverage. And then I hope to then put on a class and get training going through the town to get whoever we can get to volunteer. I've had a couple of kids that have actually asked. I would like to, I have talked to the school about as we get things going into next year, making part of the curriculum a basic EMT course through the school as part of the school curriculum. They seem pretty, Max Middle seemed pretty excited about that. Even if we had 3 or 4 kids that signed up for it, you have to be 18, so that's be seniors. But it would be, if we made it part of the curriculum, it would benefit them, even if they weren't going to do it locally. It just some kind of an outreach that I think that we can spiral off into this and just make things better and be more involved with the school in different ways. But the ambulance is going to happen. I expect it to be partially operational here directly. And we'll continue to go from there.
You took my roundtable question,
I'm sorry.
which was the ambulance for the football field because of the injury.
So as an example, since we're on the topic of ambulance. So we had a call last night,
2 of them.
2 of them. You missed the second one.
I know. I'm sorry.
That was the fun one. So that was interesting. Scenario was interesting because the fire department discussed the ambulance, the town ambulance as far as. So briefly, people crashed on the 3rd tunnel. Anytime there's an accident in the tunnels, it will notify Hot Springs County and us. Typically, the tunnel, they will always fall to our jurisdiction, but it's the unknown of which way an ambulance can come or go.
Right.
So Hot Springs is on scene first with a deputy. We arrive on scene. Their ambulance gets to the scene first. There's 2 victims. We end up putting 1 victim into the Hot Springs. Fremont County eventually shows up with 1. We put that one in. Meanwhile, we're waiting for helicopters. One's on its way from Cody, one's on its way from Riverton. There's no radio communication in the tunnels. So they said, whoever lands first, cancel the other one. So we land the Riverton helicopter. They have another little powwow and they decide to go ahead and take the victim in the Fremont County to, I believe, Riverton, and send the helicopter on its way. So to Shoshoni. So our ambulance would respond phenomenally faster. Is there a jurisdiction or anything like that as far as if the helicopter shows up, do they get to trump Shoshoni and say, I'm sorry, we're going to go ahead and take that victim because we want to? Because it was weird watching I'll say jurisdiction last night, who's making decisions.
So what we're talking about in this conversation is for-profit companies that operate in Wyoming versus us that would be not for profit, so to speak. But it would be on scene evaluating the needs of the patient, what trauma and what can be done and what's the best course of action for that patient. So that would be discussion that would happen obviously on scene. Does this, if I have a dislocated shoulder and some small lacerations, do I really need a helicopter ride to Casper to treat that, or can I go by grand ambulance? Those types of discussions would be had. I think there's going to be, as a result of this, we're going to have to, the mayor and I are definitely going to have some conversations with the other entities in Fremont County on how this is going to be facilitated. I made a point that I'm not trying to compete with Frontier Ambulance Service, but what we're trying to do is for our own citizens and the people that live here. And it's the nature of the beast where we live. Fremont County, it's a big, huge county. I mean, there's 6 states that are smaller than this county. So it's a large geographical area. But if I feel that we have the capability to do something to address waiting an hour, that first wreck, I don't know if you went on that one, it was over an hour before the ambulance got there and the helicopter flew from Rawlins. So.
And it flew him by with his broken wrist.
Over 2, you can, yeah, I mean, it was a broken wrist, yeah, but it was a serious injury and he waited over 2 hours almost 2 hours without anything.
So in general, so would your department be more apt to respond to an 8:15 call in the tunnels, or is it more geared up when there's a heart attack or something here in this town?
It's
Or you'll do
both. I would say both. That was the obvious intent. It's not, it's for the citizens of Shoshoni and in the immediate periphery of Shoshoni, but also just as a human being, if there's 5 miles outside of town and we can get there with an advanced EMT, like Jeff is an intermediate, so there's a lot he can do that a basic wouldn't, but you start getting some kind of level of care, even 10 miles outside of town versus waiting 45 minutes, 50 minutes, depending on the situation. I just think that's just a basic common sense human condition that needs to be addressed.
Possibly save somebody's life.
Or that, I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the intent, is to do both. It's not, but I mean, primarily, you know, we want to take care of the citizens that live here, at least give them some kind of access to some kind of more timely care and not just be a victim of circumstance of where we live here and the nearest ambulance is 50 minutes away. But also, unfortunately, if somebody crashes or has a serious injury north of town or on the lake or east of town, that we're able to assist that too.
Part of that is dependent on who's on duty or.
At first, yeah, it's gonna be a slow walk. It's not gonna be just like poof, here we are, you know, 7. It's gonna be, but this is the process. But I believe that it's the right thing to do. And I think that we've done it in a way that is very minimally expensive to the town by donations, like obviously the ambulance that we were able to receive as a gift and things like that. So I just wish it was quicker, but
Well, there was no calls from the fire department as far as. We don't care who shows up on scene. Our job is.
Yeah.
If you want to put them on a gurney, we'll have to put them on a gurney. We can have to do that, you know, it's up to you. You want us to cut them out of the car, we'll cut them out of the car, but. It won't affect us either way. I think it will actually make us go home sooner than.
I think once you get the patient out of there, then everything else can take place, get cleaned up.
No, I think we're making great strides.
Wholeheartedly believe so.
Yep.
Sorry, Bo.
Just one thing checked off.
Tammy, do you have anything you'd like to talk about?
No, I don't.
Bo, we have already got your,
Got me done.
got you done. Good job, Chris. Bob, do you want to talk a little bit about our meeting in Casper?
Got some other things too. I'd like to thank you for the information, and Chris, because I asked Chris personally about it, for the grants that was listed on the backside here. I think the community, there's always these questions, where is this money coming from, for all these new cars and whatever. I think that helped show the community where that money came from. And it was a good public relations effort. I thank you too for filing that.
It's a good idea.
I'll be going to Lingle towards the end of the month for a community gas meeting. What else is going on? Oh, Casper. Amendment 8 on the state constitution is up. You know, basically it says that the state can invest in certain items, stocks. Right now, the Constitution says they can. Amendment 8 will allow municipalities to do it. Something for information. We could, as a town council, we cannot support it or promote it in any way on council. But as an individual, I was told that we can talk to individual people and say this is my personal opinion privately. But as a council, we cannot. It will allow municipalities to invest in other, higher interest rates, basically. And you receive a higher rate on your dollar.
It's designed Amendment A is, this is for information only. Amendment A is designed that the municipalities would be able to invest with the state. The state has a bunch of, very smart people working on their investments, and it's bringing in good returns. So the intent of Amendment A wouldn't be like to cut me and Chris loose, or Chris and Tammy, or whatever loose on investing the town's money. But we would invest with the state, who's having very successful, very successful in bringing in a high rate of return is how the design of this is supposed to be. So Amendment A could bring considerable more money to municipalities. The bigger municipalities that have a lot of money, that can a lot, but even Shoshoni, how much, as even the little bit we're getting from Wildstar, how much does that increase this year, Chris?
So back when interest rates bottomed out on our investment at the time was 1.25, 1.3 million. We were receiving about $300 a month in interest. Currently, we're about 1,600 a month now. So, and that's probably going to continue to increase as interest rates ratchet up. It's, yeah, I mean, but it's so variable. It just depending on the market, and then you can't. It's very hard. So, being able to have some leeway would be, I guess, what's being looked at for the towns to be able to have that.
And we could possibly get 5 times that amount.
Or in times when it's not a good investment, be able to look at different investment opportunities. I'm assuming is what the intent of that is,
Right.
just being able to be responsive to the markets as they change and things like that.
The other thing we talked about were airport districts that were just allowed to be formed. And since we I'd have to go on to the ballot for the community to vote on, like they did for the cemetery districts and the senior citizen center district. That would have to be voted on by the citizens. And then that way we would eliminate the town funding the airport. They would have a separate airport board. They would be in charge of the maintenance of the airport. Other things they talked about were liquor laws. These were implemented in 1935. We're talking about making them non-transferable because they are now considered a commodity for many communities. They sell for $100,000 or more at places. And so anytime business goes out, business with liquor license go out of business, closes their doors, that reverts back to the town, not to the owner doesn't keep it. They were talking about increasing the number of bar and grill licenses and a new type called tavern. I'm not sure exactly what that would cover, but those are the things they talked about. Cats were sweating their 5-cent sales tax and their 6-cent sales tax because they don't get it. It's going to be out $64 million the next 4 years. That's basically, yeah.
Thanks, Bob. Good job. Mike, would you like to add anything? It's, I'd like to touch bases. It was mentioned again for Labor Day weekend. The car show was great, great music. A lot of people showed up. A lot of good comments. We also had our final time trials. It was lightly attended, but had some fast cars, good people. Had one car from Idaho show up. had starter issues, but everybody pitched in and got him running, so he got to make some passes. Charlie Flores, he was raised here in Shoshoni, but he's retired, lives in Idaho. But anyway, he brings his car El Diablo over here for that, but we're done for the races for the year. Looking at see what next year is gonna bring. In conversation with Enberg Miller and Wyoming Mushroom Farm on potential bid letting and construction dates. Their architect and Enberg Miller's engineers are getting together on that. I did get to meet with Bobby Hernandez. He was back from California. He hadn't been here for several months. He flew in for the weekend and was gone. And anyway, we got those two contacted and hope to be moving forward on that. I guess that's basically all I have to bring about. Anybody else have anything else they would like to add? None being, can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
Been moved by Councilwoman Hartke to adjourn. Can I have a second? Second by Councilman Demme. No further discussion. None being, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion passed all in the affirmative, 9:30. Thank you. I know.
Yes, I don't even-
I think I still have.
Yeah, no, I thought I had.